Tonight we're going to be doing some pies. I've got one savory pie and 3 dessert pies. One of them is a hot pie and 2 of them are a no-bake chilled pie. The last 2 especially are just real simple, real easy to throw together, and all 4 of these are just really full flavor, so you're going to love these, I think. The first one is our spinach phyllo pie. How many of you have ever tried a spinach? It's like a Greek spinach pie. This is really similar to it. One of the main differences is where we're using the roasted red peppers in this. It adds a really nice flavor, kind of a sweet flavor to it. And I actually prefer it more prefer it over the Greek version. Let's see, the hot one we're going to be doing is a blueberry peach crisp pie. Basically, I took a berry pie recipe and mixed it with a cobbler recipe and just threw it in a pie shell, and it turned out great, so I figured I'd make it here tonight for y'all. Then the last 2 are the no-bake ones. We've got the no-bake strawberry pretzel pie. It's basically a strawberry cream pie, and it's really good and so quick and so easy to throw together. And then the last one is a blueberry lush pie. The good thing about it, you'll be able to switch out that recipe, the 2 main ingredients, which is the blueberry and the jello mix. If you want to change the flavor of the pie, say if you want to do a peach lush pie, you just get a can of peach pie filling along with some peach jello mix, and use the rest of that recipe and make different flavors that way. You can do the same thing if you want a cherry lush or a lemon lush. It's endless, whatever mix you want to use that with. So it's very versatile. Now this first recipe is also good for the vegans because that one, now you can actually add some meat to this if you want to. Pork and chicken really goes good with this, but traditionally it's left as a vegetarian type meal. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start on the spinach phyllo pie. Now it's basically an incroot, and what that means is that's where we're taking the phyllo, we're going to be wrapping it all the way around. So basically it's going to be encrusted in the shell. Now, I already kind of went a couple steps ahead here because it takes a little while to do this part. Go ahead and let this breathe just a second. It helps working with phyllo if you have a damp towel to set over it, because you want to make sure and let it completely thaw out before you try to use it. If not, it's going to be sticking together, or if you try to thaw it out too quick, it can get really crumbly when you're trying to pull it together, and the center part will be like one solid mass. So you got to be careful about that. Okay. While we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit of butter in here, because we're going to go ahead and chop up some onions to saute while we work with the phyllo. You want to cut it fairly small, about 1/4 inch. I'm going to saute them just enough to where they soften up. You don't need to brown them or anything. Okay. Let's throw those in there. All right. And I've got that about on a medium high right there. Okay, now while that's doing that, we're going to go ahead and start working with this phyllo. Basically, I've got the spring pan like you can use for cakes. And this is real handy because after you cook it, just like the regular cake, unspring it and it'll come out in one solid piece. Lay it across. This butter's melted better. Let me use it. Then you want to just put the butter. There we go. Like so. I'm going to do the stuff on the edges as well. Okay. Go ahead and take another sheet. It's going to be going across. Because you want to let it hang over the edge, because what you're going to be doing once we put the filling in it, we're going to be dragging this and folding it over there. Okay. Go ahead and put the butter on here. Now you can use olive oil for this if you want, but I think with the butter it gives it a really rich flavor, and I think you'd enjoy that a lot more with this dish. Okay. Go ahead and take some minced garlic. Put that in there. Okay. Now here's the tricky part. We're going to be using the spinach. You can actually get the frozen spinach if you want to use it. It'll work just as fine, but make sure you drain it really good if you do. But if you use the fresher spinach, you have to cook the spinach down, and if you have to, just put half of it in, starting off, cook that down, and then add the rest. Because it doesn't take long, really, for this to cook down. There we go. Okay. It'll actually speed up the process a little bit if you were to put a lid on it if you wanted to, and that'd be just as fine. Go ahead and pour just a little bit more butter in there. Okay. All right. Now while this is cooking down, and this is why it's helpful if you kind of do it in two little batches, keep you from making such a mess from it. You want to go ahead and grab a bowl, because you're going to take 2 eggs here. Switch gloves here right quick. Alrighty. Go ahead and beat the eggs. Starting to cook that down some now. That's what you're looking for that, the leaves to start going limp on you. They'll turn a slightly darker shade of green, and that's what you're wanting there. Okay. Now we're going to take our feta cheese. And then some ricotta cheese. Go ahead and just stir that all up together there. Okay. Set that off to the side for just a second. And this is almost done. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of the herbs and stuff ready for it. I'm going to add our basil, and I'm using dry basil here. This is where dry or fresh basil would work just as fine, but with the mint, prefer the fresh mint. You can tell a huge difference in the flavor of it. And cut it up, kind of coarsely. It's okay if you leave some big leaves in it for this. It gives that a really nice fresh flavor to it there. And we're going to do the same thing with our parsley. If you want to use the curly or the flat leaf, that's fine. I prefer the curly, but you really won't tell that big of a difference in the flavor. There we go. Go ahead and throw that in there. Let's start stirring that all up. Now we're going to need our red pepper. Now, the red bell pepper I used here, you can get them in jars already in oil. Just make sure you drain them really good if you use those. Or if you want to roast them yourself, that's just as fine, but you really won't be able to tell that big of a difference in the flavor here. And they're looking about 1/2 inch or so cut. If you can see that on the screen good. Just throw that over there. Okay. And with the salt and pepper, adds 2 tastes. It's really not necessary to have the salt. The pepper, I do like having the pepper in it, but you don't want too much of it in it, just a dash there. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and take our mixture here. Throw it all in there. And don't worry about cooking the eggs down right now, because they'll finish cooking off in the oven. And that's what helps to really hold this pie together too, because it'll thicken up everything. Okay. So you got that nice, very colorful and very aromatic there. Just pour that right into the bottom. Okay. Just take that and push it off to the edges there. Try to get it as even as possible. Like so. Now you're just going to take the phyllo. If it's a little crumbly, that's okay. We'll be putting more butter on top of it. Just fold that over. Now, one thing you do want to make sure to do is leave an opening in the center. So when it starts steaming up in it, you don't get this explosion in the pie. That'll allow it to escape and it'll stay in its shape. You're cooking at 350 degrees, approximately 35 minutes. When it comes out, voila. You have a really nice crisp texture, nice strong flavor, yeah. About 35 minutes. Now, this is one of the things that we were talking about earlier. Let's say you can tell that the inside's not quite done yet, but the outside is starting getting a little dark. If you take aluminum foil and just lay it over gently, you know, enough to where it keeps it from burning over the outside for about 10 minutes, and then removing it and letting it finish browning on the top, they'll be able to cook it all the way through. But when you put it on, make sure you're not tucking it all the way around, because then it'll cause it to sweat and it'll soften it up. So you want air to be able to get underneath that aluminum foil. And the same thing's going to be true with the next dish that we're going to be starting as well. Okay, and that one it's cut just like you would a pie. It's very flavorful. Like I said, it is vegan friendly, so that will work for them as well.